The Crossroads of Destiny. As Jane stood at the crossroads of her life, she felt a sense of uncertainty wash over her. It was as if the two paths before her represented two completely different futures, and she was unable to decide which one to take. She knew that whichever path she chose would have a profound impact on her life, and that the choice she made now would shape her future for years to come. The first path led towards a life of comfort and stability. It was a well-trodden path that promised a steady income, a stable job, and a secure future. It was the path that her parents had always encouraged her to take, and the one that would make them proud. But as she looked down this path, Jane felt a sense of boredom and stagnation. She knew that this was not the life she wanted for herself. The second path was different. It was a path that was less traveled, and one that was full of unknowns. It was a path that led towards her dreams and passions, but it was also a path that was filled with risk and uncertainty. This path would require her to take a leap of faith, and to leave behind the safety and security of the first path. As Jane stood at the crossroads, she realized that this was not just a decision about her future, but also a decision about who she was. If she chose the first path, she would be choosing a life of conformity and complacency. But if she chose the second path, she would be choosing a life of adventure, growth, and self-discovery. In that moment, Jane knew what she had to do. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, then she stepped forward and took the second path. As she walked, she felt a sense of excitement and liberation wash over her. She was finally taking control of her life and choosing the path that felt true to her. As she walked down this new path, Jane encountered many challenges and obstacles. There were moments when she felt scared and uncertain, but she pushed through them, knowing that she was on the right path. And as she walked, she began to see the beauty and richness of the world around her. She met new people, discovered new passions, and grew in ways that she never thought possible. Years later, as Jane looked back at the crossroads of her life, she smiled. She knew that the choice she had made all those years ago was the best decision she had ever made. She was now living a life filled with meaning, purpose, and joy, and she was grateful for every moment of it. The crossroads of destiny is a place where we are faced with the opportunity to choose our own path. It is a place where we can decide who we want to be and what kind of life we want to live. And when we have the courage to step out of our comfort zones and choose the path that feels true to us, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities. Chance encounters. As Tom walked through the crowded streets of the city, he never could have imagined the impact that one chance encounter would have on his life. It was just another day in the hustle and bustle of the city, until he saw her. Her name was Sarah, and she was like a ray of sunshine in an otherwise gray and dreary day. They made eye contact and smiled at each other, and in that moment Tom felt a spark of connection. He couldn't help but be drawn to her, and before he knew it, he found himself striking up a conversation with her. As they talked, Tom learned that Sarah was an artist, and that she was in the city to showcase her work at an art exhibit. They talked about their shared love for art, and Tom was struck by her passion and creativity. They exchanged numbers and agreed to meet up later that week to explore the city's art scene together. Over the next few weeks, Tom and Sarah spent countless hours together, exploring the city, visiting art galleries, and simply enjoying each other's company. They both felt a strong connection, and soon they were inseparable. But then, just as suddenly as they had met, Sarah was gone. She had to return to her hometown, and Tom was left feeling lost and alone. He couldn't believe that someone who had made such a profound impact on his life could be taken away so quickly. However, as time passed, Tom realized that their chance encounter had been a turning point in his life. It had opened his eyes to the beauty and wonder of the world, and had reignited his passion for art. He started to see the world in a new light, and he was filled with a sense of purpose and direction. Years later, as Tom looked back on that chance encounter, he smiled. He knew that Sarah had been a gift from the universe, and that their time together had changed his life forever. He was grateful for every moment that they had shared, and for the way that their chance encounter had set him on a path of growth, discovery, and fulfillment. Chance encounters are a reminder that life is full of surprises, and that the people we meet along the way can have a profound impact on our lives. They remind us that sometimes the most meaningful connections are formed in the most unexpected of ways, and that even a brief moment of interaction can leave a lasting impression. In a world where we are constantly searching for meaning and purpose, chance encounters can be a source of hope and inspiration. They remind us that the world is full of possibilities, and that the future is always open to new experiences and new beginnings. And when we are open to the power of chance, we never know what adventures life might have in store. The ripple effect. It was a seemingly small decision, but it set off a chain of events that would change the course of several lives forever. When Mary decided to take a different route home from work that day, she never could have imagined the impact that it would have. As she walked down the unfamiliar street, she saw a woman sitting on the sidewalk, looking sad and alone. Mary felt a pull of compassion, and before she knew it, she found herself walking over to the woman and striking up a conversation. They talked for a while, and Mary learned that the woman's name was Karen, and that she was struggling with depression. Mary listened as Karen opened up about her struggles, and she could sense that Karen was in need of someone to talk to. Over the next few weeks, Mary and Karen continued to talk, and they became good friends. Karen was grateful for Mary's support and kindness, and she started to feel a sense of hope and optimism. She started to see the world in a different light, and she began to take steps towards a brighter future. Meanwhile, Mary's decision to take a different route home from work that day had also had an impact on someone else's life. Karen's husband, Jack, was struggling with his own personal demons, and he had been on the verge of making a life-altering decision. But after Karen opened up to him about her friendship with Mary, and the positive impact that it was having on her life, Jack started to see things differently. He reached out to Mary, and she helped him to see that there was hope, and that he too could find a way to overcome his struggles. Mary became a source of support and guidance for Jack, and he began to make progress towards a better future. As time passed, Mary's initial decision to take a different route home from work continued to have a ripple effect. Karen and Jack became stronger as a couple, and they started to build a brighter future together. They were both grateful for Mary's kindness, and for the way that her small act of compassion had changed their lives. And Mary, in turn, was grateful for the impact that her small decision had had on Karen and Jack's lives. She was humbled by the way that her actions had set off a chain of positive events, and she was inspired by the way that even the smallest actions can have a profound impact on the world around us. The ripple effect is a reminder that every decision we make and every action we take has the potential to impact the lives of those around us. It reminds us that the world is connected, and that our actions can have a far-reaching impact. And when we choose to act with kindness and compassion, we never know what positive ripple effects we might create. In a world that can often seem dark and hopeless, the ripple effect is a source of hope and inspiration. It reminds us that every act of kindness, no matter how small, can make a difference in the world, and that together we have the power to create a better future for ourselves and those around us. Unexpected outcomes. John had always been a meticulous planner, always weighing his options and considering every possible outcome before making a decision. So when he was offered the chance to invest in a new startup, he thought he had done his due diligence and carefully calculated the risks and rewards. But sometimes, no matter how carefully you plan, life can take unexpected turns. The startup took off faster than anyone could have predicted, and John's investment quickly skyrocketed. He was thrilled with his newfound wealth, and he felt like he had finally achieved the financial stability he had always dreamed of. However, the success of his investment soon began to have unforeseen consequences. Friends and acquaintances started to treat him differently, seeing him as someone with deep pockets who could be relied upon to fund their own ventures. He found himself constantly being bombarded with requests for loans and investments, and he quickly realized that his newfound wealth had also brought with it a new set of problems. Meanwhile, John's wife Sarah was struggling to keep up with the new lifestyle that their wealth had brought. She felt like they were constantly under the microscope, and that they were expected to maintain a certain level of extravagance in order to fit in with their new social circle. She felt overwhelmed and out of her depth, and she started to feel like the success of their investment was more of a curse than a blessing. As John and Sarah struggled to come to terms with the unexpected outcomes of their success, they realized that they needed to reassess their priorities and values. They started to realize that money was not the be-all and end-all, and that they were happier when they were living a simpler life, surrounded by people who cared about them for who they were, not what they had. And so, John and Sarah made the difficult decision to sell their shares in the startup and return to a simpler way of life. It was not an easy decision, but it was the right one for them. They were happier than they had been in a long time, and they realized that sometimes the unexpected outcomes of life can be the best thing that ever happened to you. The story of John and Sarah is a reminder that life is full of surprises, and that sometimes the unexpected outcomes of our decisions can have a profound impact on our lives. It reminds us that success is not always what we expect it to be, and that sometimes it is the unexpected twists and turns of life that can lead us to a deeper sense of happiness and fulfillment. When we are faced with unexpected outcomes, it can be tempting to cling to what is familiar and safe. But sometimes, it is only by stepping outside of our comfort zone and embracing the unknown that we can truly grow and evolve. So when life presents you with an unexpected outcome, remember that it may just be the opportunity you need to find your way to a brighter. The turning point. Samantha had always been a high achiever, excelling in her studies and her career. She was driven, ambitious, and had a clear vision of where she wanted to be in life. But despite her best efforts, she found herself stuck in a dead-end job, feeling unfulfilled and uninspired. It was a difficult time for Samantha, and she found herself constantly questioning her choices and wondering if she had taken a wrong turn somewhere along the way. But it wasn't until she attended a conference and heard a motivational speaker that she finally realized that she was at a turning point in her life. The speaker talked about the importance of living a purposeful life and chasing your passions, no matter how unconventional they may be. And as Samantha listened, she felt a spark of inspiration, a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, she could find her way back to the path she had once been so passionate about. So she took a leap of faith, quitting her job and investing all her time and energy into her true passion, photography. It was a scary move, and there were many moments when she questioned whether she had made the right choice. But as she immersed herself in her craft, she began to rediscover the joy and excitement that had been missing from her life for so long. Samantha's photography quickly gained recognition, and she was soon being commissioned for projects and exhibitions. Her work was being praised and appreciated, and she finally felt like she was making a positive impact in the world. She was living a purposeful life, and it was all thanks to that turning point. The turning point in Samantha's life was a pivotal moment that changed her course forever. It was a reminder that sometimes we all need a little push to take the leap and pursue what truly sets our souls on fire. And when we do, it can be a life-changing experience, one that fills us with joy, excitement, and a newfound sense of purpose. So if you find yourself at a turning point in your life, know that it is an opportunity to reassess your priorities, pursue your passions, and make a positive impact in the world. Don't be afraid to take a risk, embrace the unknown, and chase your dreams. Because sometimes, the turning point in our lives can be the very thing that propels us to the greatest heights of success and the butterfly effect. Janine had always lived a simple and straightforward life. She went to school, got good grades, and landed a stable job. But despite her best efforts, she found herself feeling unfulfilled and unsatisfied. She yearned for something more, something that would give her life purpose and meaning. It wasn't until she stumbled upon the concept of the butterfly effect that she finally found the answer she was looking for. The butterfly effect is a term used to describe how small actions can have a profound impact on the world. It suggests that even the fluttering of a butterfly's wings can cause a chain reaction that leads to a significant change in the environment. Janine was struck by the idea that even the smallest actions could have such a significant impact. She began to see her life in a new light and realized that she had the power to create positive change in the world. So she started small, volunteering at her local community center and participating in environmental initiatives. As she continued to engage in these small acts of kindness and positivity, she found herself feeling more fulfilled and satisfied than ever before. She discovered that by making a difference in the lives of others, she was also making a difference in her own life. The butterfly effect soon became a guiding principle for Janine, and she continued to take small steps that made a big impact. She started a food drive in her community, organized a beach cleanup, and became a mentor to young girls in her neighborhood. These simple actions sparked a chain reaction that led to a profound change in her community, and she was proud to be a part of it. Janine's story is a testament to the power of the butterfly effect. It reminds us that even the smallest actions can have a profound impact on the world, and that each of us has the power to create positive change. So whether it's volunteering, donating, or simply spreading kindness and positivity, know that your actions matter and that you have the power to make a difference in the world. So don't underestimate the impact of your actions. Remember that the butterfly effect is real, and that you have the power to create positive change in the world. So flutter your wings and watch as the world transforms into a better and brighter place. The intersection of life. As a young man, Michael had always felt like he was at a crossroads in life. He had big dreams and ambitions, but he didn't know which path to take to achieve them. He felt lost and uncertain, as if he were standing at an intersection with no idea which road to take. One day, while on a walk, Michael stumbled upon an old abandoned bookstore. The shelves were lined with dusty books, and cobwebs hung from the corners of the ceiling. Despite its decrepit appearance, something about the bookstore intrigued Michael, and he felt drawn to explore its musty interior. As he wandered the shelves, he came across a book that caught his eye. It was called The Intersection of Life, and it described how the choices we make at key intersections in our lives shape our destiny. Michael was immediately captivated by the book and began to read it from cover to cover. The book spoke of how each of us must choose which road to take at the various intersections of our lives, and that each decision leads to different outcomes and experiences. Michael was struck by the idea that his life was a series of intersecting paths, and that each choice he made would determine his ultimate destination. With newfound clarity, Michael realized that he had been standing at the crossroads of his life for too long. He made a conscious decision to take control of his future and choose a path that would lead him to his dreams. He set a goal to become a successful entrepreneur, and he threw himself into his work with unwavering determination. As Michael worked tirelessly towards his goal, he encountered new intersections and crossroads along the way. Each time, he took a moment to reflect on his choices and the direction he wanted his life to take. He made informed decisions, taking calculated risks, and embracing new opportunities as they presented themselves. Years later, Michael stood proud and confident, having achieved everything he had set out to do. He had become a successful entrepreneur, and he had built a life that was rich in purpose and fulfillment. Michael's story is a testament to the power of the intersection of life. It shows us that the choices we make at key moments in our lives have a profound impact on our future, and that we have the power to shape our destiny. So, when you come to a crossroads in life, remember to take a moment to reflect, choose wisely, and never stop pursuing your dreams. As you journey through life, embrace each intersection as an opportunity to shape your future, and never be afraid to take the road less traveled. Because at the end of the day, it's your choices that determine the path your life takes and the person you will become. So take control, choose wisely, and make the most of the intersections. The power of choice. Lila had always felt like life was happening to her, rather than something she had any control over. She felt like she was being carried along by the currents of life, with no real say in the direction her life was taking. One day, Lila came across a book that changed everything. The book was about the power of choice, and it described how the decisions we make, no matter how small, have the ability to shape our lives in profound ways. The book spoke of how every choice we make, whether it's about our career, relationships, or even what we eat for breakfast, has the potential to change the course of our lives. Lila was struck by the idea that she had the power to shape her own destiny, and she was determined to put this new knowledge into practice. She began to make conscious choices, no longer letting life happen to her but instead taking control and shaping her future. At first, Lila found it challenging to change her habits and make deliberate decisions. But she was determined to succeed, and she persevered. Slowly but surely, she began to see the positive impact of her choices. She took on new challenges and embraced new opportunities, and her life began to change in ways she never could have imagined. Lila soon realized that the power of choice was not just about the big decisions in life, but also about the small ones. She started to pay attention to the little choices she made each day, and she found that even the smallest decisions could have a significant impact on her life. For example, Lila had always been a procrastinator, but when she started making the conscious choice to take action instead of putting things off, she found that she was much more productive, and her life was moving in a positive direction. She also made the choice to surround herself with positive, supportive people, which helped her to grow and develop as a person. As Lila continued to make conscious choices and take control of her life, she found that she was becoming more confident and self-assured. She was no longer just a passenger in life, but instead, she was the driver, steering her life in the direction she wanted it to go. The power of choice is a profound and transformative force. It has the ability to shape our lives in countless ways and can help us to create the life we truly desire. So remember, every decision you make, no matter how small, has the power to shape your life. Embrace the power of choice and never stop making conscious decisions that will lead you to the life you've always dreamed of. So, if you want to take control of your life, start making conscious choices today. Whether it's about your career, relationships, or personal growth, make deliberate decisions that will lead you to the life you want. And remember, the power of choice is in your hands, so make the road not taken. Sophie had always been a careful and prudent person, always weighing her options and making calculated decisions. But one day, she was faced with a choice that was unlike any she had ever encountered before. She had two paths before her, both equally appealing but vastly different from one another. The first road was the safe and well-trodden path, one that offered stability and security. The other was a road less traveled, one that was uncertain and filled with risk. Sophie was torn between the two, knowing that whichever road she chose would shape her future in profound ways. For a long time, Sophie vacillated, unsure of which path to take. But as she stood there, staring at the two roads, she suddenly remembered a poem she had read in school, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. The poem spoke of the value of taking the road less traveled, and it gave Sophie the courage she needed to make her decision. Sophie took a deep breath and stepped onto the road less traveled. It was a bumpy and challenging journey, filled with obstacles and setbacks. But Sophie was determined to see it through, and she persevered. As she walked, she began to see that the road less traveled was not just a path to her destination, but a journey of self-discovery. It was a chance for her to learn new things about herself and to grow in ways she never could have imagined. Sophie encountered new people and experienced new things, and she found that she was becoming a more confident and self-assured person. The road less traveled was leading her to new opportunities and experiences that she never could have encountered on the well-trodden path. Despite the difficulties and challenges, Sophie never once regretted her decision to take the road less traveled. She knew that it was a journey that would shape her life in profound ways, and that she was growing and evolving in ways she never could have imagined. And as she continued on her journey, Sophie realized that the road less traveled was not just a path, but a metaphor for life. It was a reminder that sometimes the most rewarding experiences are the ones we have to work the hardest for, and that the most meaningful moments in life are often the ones that are the most challenging. The road not taken is a powerful reminder that we all have the power to shape our lives and create our own destinies. So the next time you find yourself at a crossroads, take a deep breath and step onto the road less traveled. You never know where it might take you, but one thing is certain: the journey will be an unforgettable. The fine line of fate. Mark was a young man who had always believed in the concept of fate. He thought that everything that happened in life was predetermined, that there was nothing he could do to change the course of his destiny. But one day, Mark was faced with a choice that challenged everything he believed about fate. Mark was at a crossroads with two paths before him. One path was the easy road, one that offered comfort and security. The other was a road filled with uncertainty and risk, but also with the promise of adventure and growth. Mark was torn between the two, knowing that whichever path he chose would have a profound impact on his future. As Mark stood there considering his options, he suddenly realized that fate was not a fixed entity but something that was shaped by the choices he made. He realized that he had the power to shape his own destiny, and that the road he took was up to him. With this newfound understanding, Mark took a deep breath and stepped onto the road less traveled. It was a difficult and challenging journey, but Mark was determined to see it through. And as he walked, he began to see that the road less traveled was not just a path to his destination, but a journey of self-discovery. Mark encountered new people and experienced new things, and he found that he was becoming a more confident and self-assured person. The road less traveled was leading him to new opportunities and experiences that he never could have encountered on the easy road. Despite the difficulties and challenges, Mark never once regretted his decision to take the road less traveled. He knew that it was a journey that would shape his life in profound ways, and that he was growing and evolving in ways he never could have imagined. As Mark continued on his journey, he realized that the line between fate and choice was a delicate one. He saw that the choices he made had a profound impact on his future, but that fate also played a role in shaping his destiny. He came to understand that life was a delicate balance between the two, and that the key was to make the most of the opportunities that presented themselves. And so, Mark continued on his journey, embracing the challenges and opportunities that came his way, always mindful of the fine line between fate and choice. And as he walked, he realized that the journey was just as important as the destination, and that the true purpose of life was to grow, learn, and experience as much as possible. The fine line of fate is a powerful reminder that we all have the power to shape our own destinies. It is a reminder that life is a journey, not a destination, and that we have the power to make the most of every moment and experience. So embrace the journey, embrace the challenges and opportunities that come your way, and always remember the fine line between fate and the unseen paths of life. Life is full of twists and turns, and it is often difficult to predict where it will take us. Sometimes, the path we thought was the right one turns out to be a dead end, and we are forced to find a new direction. Other times, a chance encounter or a small decision leads us down a completely unexpected path. This is the beauty of life, and the mystery of the unseen paths that it can lead us down. For Sarah, the unseen paths of life had always been a source of both excitement and fear. She had always been someone who loved to explore new things and take risks, but she was also aware of the dangers that lurked along the way. Despite this, she was always eager to take on new challenges and see where life would take her. One day, Sarah found herself at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take. She was faced with two options: the safe and familiar road, or the unknown and unpredictable path. She was torn between the two, wondering what the future would hold if she took one road over the other. In the end, Sarah decided to take the unknown path, and she was not disappointed. The journey was filled with ups and downs, but she discovered that each experience, whether good or bad, taught her something new about herself and the world. She learned to trust her instincts and to embrace the unknown, and she found that the rewards were well worth the risks. Sarah met new people, visited new places, and encountered new experiences along the way. She discovered that life was full of possibilities, and that there were always new paths to explore. She realized that the unknown was not something to be feared, but something to be embraced and enjoyed. As Sarah continued on her journey, she realized that the unseen paths of life were not just a journey of self-discovery, but also a journey of growth and development. She saw how each experience and each challenge was shaping her into the person she was meant to be, and she was grateful for each opportunity to grow and evolve. The unseen paths of life can be a source of both excitement and fear, but they are also a source of growth and discovery. They offer us the opportunity to explore new horizons, to encounter new challenges, and to become the best version of ourselves. So, embrace the unknown and enjoy the journey, for it is in the unseen paths of life that we truly discover who we are and what we are capable of. In the end, Sarah learned that life is not about finding the perfect path, but about discovering the path that is right for us. And as she looked back on her journey, she realized that each path she took, each decision she made, had led her to the place she was meant to be. And she was grateful for each and every step of the way. The unpredictable journey. Life is a journey, and like any journey, it is filled with unexpected twists and turns. Sometimes it takes us down roads we never thought we would travel, and other times it presents us with challenges we never thought we would face. This unpredictability can be both exciting and frightening, but it is also what makes life so rich and full of meaning. For Michael, life had always been an unpredictable journey. From a young age, he had been exposed to different cultures and ways of life, and he had always been curious about the world around him. This thirst for adventure and exploration had led him to many different countries, where he had encountered a wide range of people, experiences, and perspectives. One day, Michael found himself at a crossroads, faced with a difficult decision. He was presented with two options: to stay on the familiar path he had been traveling, or to venture into the unknown. He was torn between the two, wondering what the future held for him if he took one road over the other. In the end, Michael decided to take the unknown path, and he was not disappointed. The journey was filled with unexpected challenges and obstacles, but it was also filled with moments of beauty and wonder. He discovered that the unknown was not something to be feared, but something to be embraced and explored. Along the way, Michael met new people, encountered new experiences, and discovered new perspectives. He saw how the unpredictability of life was shaping him into the person he was meant to be, and he was grateful for each opportunity to grow and evolve. He learned to trust his instincts, to embrace change, and to find beauty in the unexpected. As Michael continued on his journey, he realized that the unpredictability of life was not just a journey of self-discovery, but also a journey of growth and development. He saw how each challenge and each experience was preparing him for the next step, and he was grateful for each opportunity to grow and evolve. The unpredictability of life can be both exciting and frightening, but it is also what makes life so rich and full of meaning. It offers us the opportunity to explore new horizons, to encounter new challenges, and to become the best version of ourselves. So, embrace the unknown and enjoy the journey, for it is in the unpredictability of life that we truly discover who we are and what we are capable of. In the end, Michael learned that life is not about finding the perfect path, but about discovering the path that is right for us. And as he looked back on his journey, he realized that each step he took, each decision he made, had led him to the place he was meant to be. And he was grateful for each and every twist and turn of the unpredictable journey. The web of life. Life is a complex and interconnected web, where every action and every decision we make has far-reaching consequences. These consequences ripple through the web of life, affecting not only ourselves, but also the people around us and the world we live in. For Amanda, life was a web of relationships and connections. She had grown up in a small town where everyone knew each other, and she had learned from a young age the importance of treating others with kindness and respect. Her relationships with her friends and family were the foundation of her life, and she was deeply committed to nurturing these connections. One day, Amanda found herself at a crossroads, faced with a difficult decision. She had been offered a job in a big city, far from her hometown and the people she loved. She was torn between the two, wondering what the future held for her if she took one road over the other. In the end, Amanda decided to take the job in the big city, and she was not disappointed. The new city was full of exciting opportunities and experiences, but it was also filled with new challenges and obstacles. She found herself struggling to find her place in the new community, and she was deeply homesick for the people and the relationships she had left behind. As Amanda struggled to find her place in the new city, she realized the importance of her relationships and connections. She saw how her actions and decisions had far-reaching consequences, affecting not only herself but also the people around her and the world she lived in. She saw how her relationships with others were the foundation of her life, and she was grateful for each opportunity to grow and evolve. Through her experiences in the new city, Amanda discovered the true meaning of the web of life. She saw how our relationships with others are interwoven, forming a complex and interconnected web, where every action and every decision we make has far-reaching consequences. She learned to nurture her relationships, to be kind and respectful to others, and to see the world as a web of relationships and connections. As Amanda continued to grow and evolve, she saw how the web of life was shaping her into the person she was meant to be. She saw how each decision she made and each relationship she formed was helping her to discover her place in the world and to become the best version of herself. In the end, Amanda realized that life is not just a journey of self-discovery, but also a journey of growth and development. She saw how our relationships with others are interwoven, forming a complex and interconnected web, where every action and every decision we make has far-reaching consequences. And she was grateful for each and every twist and turn of the web. The fork in the road. For most people, life is a journey filled with choices and decisions, and at times, a single decision can change the course of their life forever. This decision can often be represented by a fork in the road, a point where they must choose which path to take. For Rachel, the fork in the road came when she was faced with a dilemma. She had been offered a job in her dream company, but it meant moving to a different city, far from her family and friends. On the other hand, she could stay in her hometown close to her loved ones, but give up her dream job. Rachel was torn between the two options, not knowing which one to choose. She weighed the pros and cons, but no matter how she looked at it, each decision seemed to come with its own set of consequences. She felt like she was at a crossroads, not knowing which road to take. In the end, Rachel chose to take the job and move to the different city. It was a tough decision, but she was determined to follow her dreams and make a better life for herself. She packed her bags and said goodbye to her family and friends, ready to start a new chapter in her life. However, the road ahead was not as smooth as she had hoped. The new city was unfamiliar and overwhelming, and she struggled to make friends and fit in. The job was challenging, and she found herself working long hours and feeling exhausted. She was homesick and missed her family and friends, but she knew that she had made the right decision. One day, Rachel met a woman named Lucy who changed her life forever. Lucy was kind and warm, and she took Rachel under her wing. She showed her the city, introduced her to new people, and helped her find her place in the new community. Lucy became a close friend, and Rachel was grateful for her help and support. Rachel soon realized that the fork in the road had led her to a new and exciting chapter in her life. She was growing and learning, and she was surrounded by people who cared about her and supported her. The road ahead was not always easy, but she was determined to make the most of it. In the end, Rachel saw that the fork in the road was not just a choice between two paths, but a choice between two lives. It was a choice between following her dreams and making a better life for herself, or staying in her comfort zone and giving up on her aspirations. She was grateful for the choice she had made, and she was proud of the person she was becoming. Rachel's journey showed her that life is a journey of choices and decisions, and that each decision has its own set of consequences. It showed her that each road we take leads us to a new and exciting chapter in our lives, and that each fork in the road is an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. And it showed her that life is a journey worth taking, no matter where the paths less traveled. For most people, life is a journey filled with decisions and choices, each one leading them down a different path. Some paths are well-trodden and familiar, while others are less traveled and less well-known. But it is often these less traveled paths that lead to the greatest adventures and the most exciting experiences. For Jack, the path less traveled came in the form of an unexpected opportunity. He had been working at his job for several years, feeling comfortable and content, when he was offered a chance to join a startup company. It was a new and exciting opportunity, but it meant leaving his familiar job and taking a risk on something unknown. At first, Jack was hesitant. He was comfortable in his current job, and he didn't want to leave it behind. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized that this was an opportunity that he couldn't pass up. He was eager for a new challenge and a change of pace, and he was ready for an adventure. So Jack took the leap and accepted the offer. He said goodbye to his old job, packed his bags, and headed off to start his new life. The road ahead was not always easy, but he was determined to make the most of it. The startup company was a new and exciting place, full of bright minds and innovative ideas. Jack found himself working on projects that he never could have imagined in his old job, and he was constantly learning and growing. He was surrounded by people who inspired him, and he was excited to be part of a team that was doing something new and meaningful. However, Jack soon realized that the path less traveled was not without its challenges. The company was in its early stages, and it was facing many obstacles and uncertainties. Jack was pushed to his limits, and he found himself working long hours and facing tough decisions. He was sometimes homesick, and he missed his old job and his old life. But despite the challenges, Jack was determined to make the most of his journey. He was excited by the opportunities that lay ahead, and he was eager to see where his path would lead. And in the end, Jack saw that the path less traveled was leading him to a new and exciting chapter in his life. Jack's journey showed him that the path less traveled is not always easy, but it is often the most rewarding. It showed him that life is a journey filled with decisions and choices, and that each one leads us down a different path. And it showed him that the path less traveled is an opportunity to grow and learn, to experience new and exciting things, and to live life to the fullest. In the end, Jack was grateful for the choice he had made. He was proud of the person he had become, and he was excited for the journey ahead. He knew that the path less traveled was not without its challenges, but he was determined to make the most of it, no matter where it may lead. The detours of destiny. Life is a journey filled with twists and turns, and sometimes it can feel like we are constantly being redirected. Whether it is due to unexpected events or our own choices, these detours can sometimes feel like setbacks or obstacles in our journey. But often, it is these very detours that lead us to unexpected and beautiful destinations. For Emily, the detour of her destiny came in the form of a job loss. She had worked hard for years at her job, climbing the ranks and building a successful career. But one day, she was unexpectedly let go, leaving her feeling lost and uncertain. At first, Emily was filled with worry and self-doubt. She felt like her life was falling apart, and she didn't know what the future would hold. But as she began to look for new opportunities, she discovered something she had never considered before: her true passion. Emily had always been interested in writing, but she had never pursued it as a career. But as she started to write and share her work, she found that it brought her great joy and satisfaction. She began to realize that this was her true calling, and that her job loss was actually a blessing in disguise. So Emily took a leap of faith and started down a new path. She wrote and wrote, honing her skills and building her portfolio. She found new and exciting opportunities, and she was soon offered a job as a freelance writer. The detour of her destiny was not always easy. Emily faced challenges and obstacles, and she had to work hard to build her new career. But she was determined to make the most of her journey, and she was filled with a sense of purpose and joy that she had never felt before. As Emily continued on her journey, she saw that her detour was leading her to a new and exciting destination. She was able to use her writing to make a difference in the world, and she was able to share her story with others. She found that her detour was actually leading her to her true purpose in life. Emily's journey showed her that life is full of detours, but that these detours can often lead us to unexpected and beautiful destinations. It showed her that the road ahead may not always be clear, but that with determination and perseverance we can find our way to a better future. In the end, Emily was grateful for the detour of her destiny. She was proud of the person she had become, and she was filled with a sense of purpose and joy that she had never felt before. She knew that the road ahead would not always be easy, but she was determined to make the most of her journey, no matter where it may lead. The unforeseen future. The future is always uncertain, and it can be difficult to predict where our lives will take us. Sometimes, we are faced with unexpected events that can change the course of our lives in an instant. These events can bring new opportunities, challenges, and obstacles, but they can also help shape us into the person we are meant to be. For Jake, the unforeseen future was something he never expected. He was content with his life as a software engineer, working long hours and enjoying the stability of a well-paying job. But when his company announced layoffs, Jake found himself faced with a new and uncertain future. At first, Jake was filled with fear and anxiety. He didn't know what he would do if he lost his job, and he felt like his life was unraveling before his eyes. But as he started to look for new opportunities, he discovered something he had never considered before: his passion for photography. Jake had always loved taking pictures, but he had never thought of it as a career. But as he started to take more pictures and share his work with others, he found that it brought him great joy and satisfaction. He began to realize that photography was his true calling, and that his job loss was actually a blessing in disguise. So Jake took a leap of faith and started down a new path. He invested in better equipment, and he started to build a portfolio of his work. He found new and exciting opportunities, and he was soon offered a job as a freelance photographer. The unforeseen future was not always easy for Jake. He faced challenges and obstacles, and he had to work hard to build his new career. But he was determined to make the most of his journey, and he was filled with a sense of purpose and joy that he had never felt before. As Jake continued on his journey, he saw that the unforeseen future was leading him to a new and exciting destination. He was able to use his photography to capture moments and memories, and he was able to share his passion with others. He found that the unforeseen future was actually leading him to his true purpose in life. Jake's journey showed him that the future is always uncertain, but that with determination and perseverance, we can find our way to a better future. It showed him that sometimes life takes us down unexpected paths, but that these paths can lead us to great opportunities and fulfillment. In the end, Jake was grateful for the unforeseen future. He was proud of the person he had become, and he was filled with a sense of purpose and joy that he had never felt before. He knew that the road ahead would not always be easy, but he was determined to make the most of his journey, no matter where it may lead. The traces of time. Time is a curious thing. It moves forward, always marching on, leaving behind memories, experiences, and the traces of our lives. These traces can be small and subtle, like the lines on our faces and the memories that linger in our minds. Or they can be big and bold, like the monuments and landmarks that mark the passage of time. For Sarah, the traces of time were both small and large. She had lived a long and full life, and she had seen many changes over the years. She had been through good times and bad, and she had made memories that she would treasure forever. But as Sarah grew older, she realized that the traces of time were becoming more visible. Her hair had turned gray, her hands had grown wrinkled, and she could see the lines on her face when she looked in the mirror. It was a reminder that her life was finite, and that her time on this earth was running out. Despite these reminders, Sarah refused to slow down. She was determined to make the most of her remaining time, and to leave behind a legacy that would endure long after she was gone. So Sarah set out to leave her mark on the world. She began volunteering at a local community center, where she spent her time helping others and making a positive impact on the world. She also started writing a memoir, sharing her experiences and wisdom with others. As Sarah wrote her memoir, she began to realize that the traces of time were more than just physical reminders. They were also the stories, experiences, and memories that she had accumulated over her long life. These stories were her legacy, and they were the way she would be remembered long after she was gone. Sarah was proud of the traces of time she had left behind. She was proud of the person she had become, and she was grateful for the journey she had taken. She knew that her life would not last forever, but she was confident that her legacy would endure, and that the traces of time would continue to shape and influence the world long after she was gone. As Sarah neared the end of her life, she was at peace with the knowledge that her time on this earth was running out. She was filled with a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment, knowing that she had lived a long and full life, and that she had left her mark on the world. Sarah's journey showed her that the traces of time are not just physical reminders, but that they are the stories, experiences, and memories that we leave behind. It showed her that our legacy is not determined by how long we live, but by the impact we make on the world. In the end, Sarah was grateful for the traces of time, and for the journey she had taken. She knew that her time on this earth was limited, but she was confident that her legacy would endure, and that the traces of time would continue to shape and influence the world for generations. The chains of circumstance. Life is full of unexpected twists and turns, and it can be easy to feel like we are at the mercy of circumstance. We are born into a certain family, grow up in a particular community, and are shaped by the events and experiences that come our way. It can feel like we are chained to the circumstances of our lives, unable to break free and forge our own path. But for Jake, this was not the case. He had always been someone who refused to be held back by circumstance. He had grown up in a tough neighborhood, but he had refused to be dragged down by the negativity and violence that surrounded him. Instead, he had worked hard, overcome obstacles, and forged his own path in life. Despite his determination, however, Jake soon found himself facing a new set of challenges. He had landed a promising job, but it was in a city far from home, and he was struggling to adjust. He felt lonely and disconnected, and he was struggling to find his footing in this new and unfamiliar place. But Jake refused to let the chains of circumstance hold him back. He threw himself into his work, and he started to make connections and build relationships in the city. He joined a local gym, and he started to work out, to build both his physical and mental strength. And he began to volunteer at a community center, where he was able to give back and make a positive impact on others. As Jake settled into his new life, he realized that the chains of circumstance were not as unbreakable as he had once thought. He saw that the circumstances of his life did not define him, but that they were merely the starting point from which he could build a life that was meaningful and fulfilling. Jake's journey showed him that while we may be born into certain circumstances, it is up to us to forge our own path in life. He realized that life is not about what happens to us, but about how we respond to the events and experiences that come our way. He saw that it is not the circumstances of our lives that determine our fate, but the choices we make and the actions we take. Jake's story is a reminder that while life may not always be easy, we have the power to break free from the chains of circumstance and to create a life that is meaningful and fulfilling. He showed us that it is never too late to break free from the chains that hold us back, and that we have the strength and resilience to overcome any obstacle and to build a life that is truly our own. In the end, Jake was proud of the journey he had taken and of the person he had become. He was grateful for the challenges he had faced and for the lessons he had learned. He knew that the chains of circumstance may always be there, but he was confident that he had the strength and determination to overcome them and to forge his own path. The links of life. It was a warm summer day, and Maria was sitting on a bench in the park, lost in thought. She had been through a lot lately and was feeling overwhelmed by the weight of the world. As she looked up, she saw a woman walking towards her, and as the woman got closer, Maria realized it was her old friend Sarah. They hugged and sat down on the bench together. Sarah asked Maria how she was doing, and Maria shared with her the struggles she had been facing. Sarah listened intently and then shared her own story of how she had overcome a similar situation. Maria was amazed at how similar their experiences were, and it made her realize that she wasn't alone in her struggles. Sarah told Maria that everything in life was connected, like links in a chain. Each choice we make, each person we meet, and each circumstance we face is all connected in some way. And just like the links in a chain, each event can have a ripple effect on our lives, affecting the choices we make and the direction our lives take. Maria was struck by Sarah's words, and she realized that the hardships she had faced were just one part of the chain of events that made up her life. And though it was difficult, she had to accept that the hardships were necessary for her to grow and learn. Sarah encouraged Maria to embrace the links of life, to embrace the challenges and the triumphs, and to trust that everything would work out in the end. Maria felt a sense of peace and comfort wash over her, and she knew that Sarah was right. As they said their goodbyes, Maria hugged Sarah and thanked her for reminding her of the beauty of life. She realized that sometimes, the links in our lives are meant to bring us together, to help us grow and learn, and to guide us towards our destiny. From that day on, Maria looked at life in a new way, embracing each link and each circumstance with open arms. She knew that the links of life would lead her to where she was meant to be, and she was ready for the imprint of decisions. As John walked down the busy city street, he couldn't help but reflect on the choices he had made in life. He had always been a driven man, focused on success and achievement. But as he got older, he realized that his success had come at a cost. He had neglected his relationships, and now, he was feeling the emptiness of a life devoid of love and connection. He wondered how different his life might have been if he had made different choices. If he had chosen to prioritize his relationships over his career, would he be happier now? John was feeling lost and uncertain, but as he rounded the corner, he saw an old friend he hadn't seen in years. They chatted for a bit, catching up on each other's lives, and John was struck by how content and happy his friend seemed. His friend shared with John that he had made a different choice in life. He had decided to prioritize his relationships and family, and though he wasn't as successful as John, he was infinitely happier. John was inspired by his friend's words and realized that the decisions we make leave an imprint on our lives. Our choices shape the direction our lives take and the people we become. They create the experiences we have and the memories we keep. John decided that it was time to make some changes in his life. He wanted to leave a positive imprint, to live a life filled with love and connection. He wanted to be remembered as a kind and loving person, not just a successful one. He started to reach out to old friends and family, mending relationships that had been neglected. He made an effort to spend more time with the people he loved, and he felt a sense of happiness and fulfillment that he had never experienced before. John's life was completely transformed, and he was grateful for the imprint of his decisions. He knew that the choices he made now would shape the rest of his life and leave a lasting impact. As John continued down the busy city street, he felt a sense of peace and contentment. He was grateful for the opportunity to make a positive imprint on the world, and to live a life filled with love and happiness. He was proud of the person he was becoming, and was excited for the echoes of choice. As a young girl, Sarah had always been fascinated by the idea of choice. She loved the idea that she had the power to shape her own life, to decide the path she would take and the person she would become. But as she got older, she began to realize that the choices she made had far-reaching consequences. The echoes of her decisions were felt not only in her own life but in the lives of those around her. Sarah had always been a responsible person, but she had made some poor choices in the past. She had gotten involved with the wrong crowd, and her actions had hurt the people she loved. But now, as an adult, she was determined to make different choices. She wanted to leave a positive imprint on the world, to make a difference in the lives of those around her. Sarah started volunteering at a local homeless shelter, and she was struck by the impact her actions had on the people she was helping. She could see the echoes of her choices in their lives, in the way her kindness and generosity had given them hope and inspired them to make positive changes in their own lives. Sarah realized that the choices she made had a ripple effect, spreading out and touching the lives of others. They created a chain of events, a web of interconnections that connected her to the world around her. She was grateful for the opportunity to make a positive impact, to leave a lasting legacy that would live on long after she was gone. She felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment that she had never experienced before. As Sarah continued her work at the homeless shelter, she could feel the echoes of her choices. They were a reminder that she had the power to shape her own life, to decide the path she would take and the person she would become. And she was determined to make the most of that power, to make positive choices that would leave a lasting impact on the world. She wanted to be remembered as a kind and generous person, someone who made a difference in the lives of others. The echoes of her choices were a reminder that she had the power to shape her own life, to create the person she wanted to be. And she was grateful for the opportunity to make a positive impact, to leave a legacy that would live on long after she was gone. The fabric of fate. John had always been a man of logic and reason. He believed in cause and effect, and he was convinced that the events in his life were the result of his own choices and actions. But as he got older, he began to see the world in a different light. He realized that there were forces beyond his control, threads that wove together to create the fabric of his life. John had always thought of fate as something predetermined, a path that he was destined to follow. But now he saw that fate was much more complex, a tapestry of intersecting threads that were woven together in an intricate pattern. He saw that the choices he made, the actions he took, and the people he met were all part of the fabric of his life. They were all linked, connected by a web of cause and effect that shaped his destiny. John was amazed by the intricate beauty of this pattern, by the way the threads came together to create something much greater than the sum of its parts. He was humbled by the realization that he was a small part of something much larger, a tiny piece of the greater fabric of fate. But he also saw that he had the power to influence the fabric of his life. He could choose the threads he would weave into his tapestry, and he could choose the path he would follow. John realized that fate was not something that was predetermined, but something that he could shape and mold. He had the power to create the life he wanted, to make his own mark on the fabric of fate. He felt a sense of freedom and empowerment that he had never experienced before. He was no longer a passive observer of his own life, but an active participant in the shaping of his destiny. John continued to reflect on the fabric of fate, and he was struck by the realization that the threads of his life were interwoven with the lives of others. He saw that the choices he made and the actions he took had a ripple effect, impacting not only his own life but the lives of those around him. He was grateful for this insight, for the opportunity to understand the complex tapestry of fate. He was determined to use his newfound knowledge to make a positive impact, to weave the threads of his life in a way that would benefit not only himself but others as well. The fabric of fate was a reminder that he was a small part of something much larger, a tiny piece of the greater tapestry of life. And he was grateful for the opportunity to shape his own destiny, to leave his mark on the threads of destiny. As Emily walked down the busy street, she couldn't help but feel like everything was connected, like all of the pieces of her life were woven together into a tapestry of fate. She had always felt that her life was like a puzzle, with each event leading to the next, creating a larger picture that she couldn't yet see. It all started when she was a young girl, and her family moved from the city to a small town in the countryside. It was there that she met her best friend Sarah, and together they explored the woods and dreamed of the adventures they would one day have. They made plans to travel the world and see all of the sights, to experience everything life had to offer. But then, just as suddenly as it had begun, their friendship ended. Sarah moved away, and Emily was left to navigate the complexities of life on her own. She struggled to find her place in the world, feeling like she was always searching for something she couldn't quite grasp. Years went by, and Emily found herself working at a dead-end job, going through the motions of life without any real purpose. She was lost, feeling like her life had taken a turn for the worse, and that she was never going to find her way back to the path she was meant to be on. And then, out of nowhere, she received a letter from Sarah. It was an invitation to meet up and catch up on old times. Emily was ecstatic, feeling like a piece of her past had come back to her. She eagerly accepted and made plans to meet with her old friend. As she sat in the coffee shop, waiting for Sarah to arrive, Emily couldn't help but reflect on all of the events that had led her to this moment. She realized that every decision she had made, every choice she had taken, had woven together to bring her to this moment. It was like the threads of her destiny were finally starting to come together. Sarah arrived, and as they caught up, Emily felt like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. It was as if the past was finally behind her, and she was free to move forward and follow her dreams. She and Sarah made plans to travel the world together, just like they had dreamed of when they were young. As Emily walked away from the coffee shop, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. She realized that life was a tapestry of fate, with each decision and choice creating a unique pattern that would ultimately lead her to where she was meant to be. And as she took her first step towards her future, she knew that the threads of her destiny were firmly in her hands. The publisher. Accepting manuscripts in the most categories. We love to help people get their words available to the world. Revival Waves of Glory focus is to provide more options to be published. We do traditional paperbacks, hardcovers, audiobooks, and ebooks all over the world. A traditional royalty-based publisher that offers self-publishing options, Revival Waves provides a very author-friendly and transparent publishing process, with President Bill Vincent involved in the full process of your book. Send us your manuscript and we will contact you as soon as possible. Contact Bill Vincent at rwgpublishing@yahoo.com.